welcome into another roster evaluation day. Today we turn our attention to the linebacker position. This is the second day of roster evaluations that we're doing for the Minnesota Vikings heading into the offseason of 2021 before free agency and the NFL draft take place. And basically we're looking at players currently rostered on contracts and with notable free agents listed. Before I really get into any detail, two things. Number one, my eyes look a little bit terrible because allergies today. Whew, damn. And second, I got to be honest with I got to be honest with myself. Looking at the depth chart currently for the front seven of the defense, I am not really inclined to be very confident in the Vikings running it back in 2021 and actually being competitive for a Super Bowl. Just the depth alone on the front seven so far is a yikes for me. It's a yikes hard lemonade, if I could say that. The defensive line was one of the worst in the league last year, and thanks to injuries, the linebacking core ended up being one of the worst down the stretch. We lost Anthony Barr pretty early, and we lost Eric Kendricks, I think, with about 4 or 5 games left to go. And we had to turn over to rookies and guys just picked up off the street, practice squad, waivers, what have you. And of course, it didn't help, and we ended up melting down towards the end of the season. Finishing 7-9 was probably the worst thing that could have happened in terms of draft capital, but it is what it is. That's what happened, and here we are. Now we have to deal with it. So, am I confident, after looking at the Tampa Bay Super Bowl victory about this roster? No, not in any way, shape, or form. I think the depth on this team is a joke, and I think it was exposed last year due to injuries, and that's just, you can play the injury card all you want, but other teams have injury problems. Other teams had players opt out. Other teams had players come in for the first time in a season with that team that didn't have any off-season programs or preseason to get acclimated, and things still went fine. It just didn't go well for the Minnesota Vikings. Whatever could have went wrong did go wrong for this roster, especially on defense in 2020. So let's focus on the linebackers and where we are and where we can go with this information, if you will. So at the top of the list, you of course see Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks. Those are the two veteran, consistent players at the position that we have currently. Vikings fans, I think, are pretty split on Anthony Barr as a whole, but I think the majority of them probably would like to unload this contract. Almost, a little bit over $15 million a year. He's been in the league for a number of years. He actually took less money to stay with us and sort of ghosted the Jets the year he hit free agency. He was Mike Zimmer's very first first-round draft pick, very first pick at all, actually, when Mike Zimmer took over the team 7 years ago. And I don't know what the infatuation with Anthony Barr is at this point in his career. I think his time has come and gone. I don't really know if he can be the Swiss Army knife full potential that we saw glimpses of in years past. He's still a really rock solid player, but we're getting into the later stage of his career, I think, and I just don't know if the contract's worth it anymore, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think a lot of people agree with that. A lot of people are looking about, how can we get out of this contract and still not get worse at the position. So it's to be determined, but I think Anthony Barr will return for the 2021 season just because he's Mike Zimmer's guy and he's the first one that he was able to bring onto this roster from the NFL draft. And I think that is going to earn him enough to stick around for another year. It seems like the Vikings front office and coaching staff actually believe that the current world that we live in is one where the Vikings will be competitive, and I don't see it. I think it would be time to move on from Anthony Barr while he still has value. Moving on to Eric Kendricks, one of the best and most underrated middle linebackers in the league. I think that goes without saying. The thing I love about him the most is just his ability to drop back in coverage and take away routes that you probably wouldn't expect a middle linebacker to be able to take away. Just overall athletic, one of the better linebackers that I've seen with his lateral movement, sideline to sideline, and just ability to be a difference maker in the middle of the field. And I think his talents and attributes are really, really valuable, especially in this era of passing in the NFL where, you have guys coming out of the flats and peeling off blocks, and if you don't have a linebacker that can play coverage in this league, then you lose a lot of value if this linebacker can't really participate in pass defense. So Eric Kendricks is one of my favorite players on this defense. My absolute favorite we'll get to in another video. But Eric Kendricks, I think the best that we can do to keep him around is probably best case for everybody involved on this team. After that, we present ourselves with another talent gap. If you remember in the defensive line video where I talked about Danielle Hunter and then the next player on the list just being the size of the Grand Canyon in terms of talent gap, I think we arrive at a similar point with the linebacking group. Troy Dye played very nice as a rookie, filling in for Anthony Barr. I can't discredit his contributions in his rookie season. Not a lights-out, Pro Bowl player, but that's not what he was drafted for. He was basically drafted for depth, maybe to be somebody who could be developed into a starter over time. Next on the list, of course, we have Ryan Connolly and then Blake Lynch, two guys that probably shouldn't have seen any sort of significant playing time this year, but unfortunately due to injuries, we were down to bare bones, bottom of the barrel options when it came to the end of the season, where we are starting guys like Todd Davis, Troy Dye, and Ryan Connolly as your starting linebacking group on defense. I think those were the three starters for the end of the season against the Detroit Lions in that meaningless game. So, I mean, Todd Davis was a guy that was, basically plucked off the waiver wire, had no opportunity to learn the playbook, and he started 6 games for us. That's how much of a dire situation we were in just to get bodies on the field to play defense. Down at the bottom, we have the biggest question mark of the offseason is Eric Wilson. He is, of course, a free agent. I believe that his breakout campaign came at the absolute right time for him. He'll be able to test the free agent waters and get a really good contract. Can we afford him? I don't know. We have choices that we have to make in terms of which players we want to retain in free agency. I think it gets a little bit easier in the videos with the secondary and the corners and the safety that we're going to do in a few days. But as far as Eric Wilson goes, he'll probably be able to test the market and get a really good deal somewhere else. I don't think he'll be coming back. Same thing with Hardy Nickerson and Todd Davis. Not that I think they're going to get really good contracts, but I just don't think that they'll come back. They were serviceable replacements for the time that we needed them, but I don't think that they're going to come back to this roster anytime soon. The Vikings will look elsewhere in free agency or the NFL draft itself, where we have a multitude of day 3 picks and a bunch of third rounders that we could maybe use to pick up a linebacker in the draft, maybe somebody like Browning from Ohio State. But overall, the linebacking position is a huge question mark, because we don't know currently the future of Anthony Barr on this team. I think it's likely he's going to be sticking around. We also don't know what's going to come of Eric Wilson and who will be the one to replace him. Will it be Troy Dye for another season? Are they going to do anything to get some better depth at this position? We've got a lot of young players. The problem is, and as I've said this before, the young players just aren't developing fast enough. It's a problem. The veterans are getting older. The defense got older. We had a mass exodus of talent on the defensive side of the ball last year. We're about to see another mass exodus of talent depending on where the salary cap is and what they decide to do with contracts currently outstanding. And I just don't know. This front seven scares the hell out of me at this point. So I hope they're aggressive in free agency, and I hope they're aggressive in the NFL draft for this position and the defensive line. So that's going to do it for this video. We'll touch on the cornerbacks in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.